What's happening? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So, we will talk about this really interesting article I came across in The Entrepreneur. The author's name is Dejan. So, really interesting to talk about what's happening in the world of sneakers. So, it really made me think about some of the days that have gone by in my life and what sneaker collecting has looked like over the years. And I remember I've been at sneakers for over 20 years now. And yeah, I think you at one point, in my early time, it was all about the chase. It was all about the chase and, really connecting with other people that shared the same passion with sneakers and trying to be hunting down shoes that I was really passionate about. I remember going to Detroit for one shoe and trying to go to Buffalo for another shoe and trying to hit up Goodfoot or Livestock or the Zone or some of these other small boutique type stores on these drops, literally 20 years ago. But though so many things have changed, right? The sneaker industry is now like $6 billion, and that's just the resale market. That's not what the Nikes and the other retailers are making in terms of selling sneakers, but this is just strictly the resale market. So this is the goats and the StockX's and so many other, eBay obviously, but the market has changed so much on finding and getting shoes, but it's also being driven by a profit perspective and not necessarily a love for the sneakers. Now, some people debate, is it a culture and sneaker? Well, sneakers, there was a sneaker culture, whether it exists in the same fashion anymore, that is to be determined. But, this boom behind reselling sneakers has really changed over the years, and particularly, over probably the last, 10 years, where prices have gone through the roof. Some shoes are worth, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars now. And, we have so many, true sneakerheads that cannot even get their hands on what they're looking for because they're losing it to technology and, the influx of resellers. Now, don't get me wrong, reselling sneakers did change sneaker culture for the better. It's challenged, multiple brands to now enter the marketplace. It's also given sneakers a bigger profile and ultimately created more hype, which is good for sneaker culture. It's giving sneaker culture a greater exposure. But there have been some drawbacks, like true sneakerheads making it very difficult in getting sneakers without having to pay resale. So there are some great apps out there like Soul Savvy and some of the other things that are out there that kind of can guide you on how you can find sneakers at retail prices. But where I would tell you that the article that I read is really taking us is where the sneaker culture is going. And the big point that they make is it's not going to be about resale. It's going to be about customer experience. So the experience with sneakers is what is at the root of everything that sneaker culture, the sneaker market will become. This sneaker environment cannot continue to thrive without having a culture or having a piece that people feel that they belong to. They feel like they're included in a community. They feel like they are being appreciated, and they feel like they can get the sneakers that they want. If it's solely based on profit, there are going to be the haves and the have-nots, and there definitely will be people that will move on or not be a part of it. And some of those are people that have been driving sneaker culture since day one. So I think there's, definitely some good things that will happen as sneaker involved, and I think really thinking about the experience, and I think we really think about, people always wanted to be connected or feel a belonging something. There's the, dibs and being diverse and inclusive, and belonging is a word that's out there, or a phrase or an acronym that's out there a lot these days. But humans are really social beings, as according to the article, and I totally agree with it, that we feel a sense of community or something. We want to be connected to people that are like-minded like us. But as sneakers and things continue to change, and whether that's technology, whether that's how people are investing money or investing in things in general, I think we're, to a certain extent, it's starting to divide what things people are look like, and people that are true sneakerheads aren't unnecessarily able to connect in the same way. I think also a big piece of that is what the pandemic has done. And the pandemic, unfortunately, has really resorted to people shopping online, finding different ways, going to resellers, taking away some of these, sneaker experiences because it hasn't been safe to do so. I think ultimately, with resellers leveraging bots, and ultimately buying stuff at bulk purchases, it's made really other people very difficult to buy sneakers in general. But if brands and retailers are not careful, they will lose connectivity with those people that are really trying to drive the culture, right? Those that are, I guess you'd call them sneaker obsessed, and these brands essentially need to continue to be customer obsessed if things are going to continue to move forward. Whether you are a big fan of Nike Dunks or Yeezys, sometimes you have to pay hundreds of dollars on the secondary market, more than what these shoes are actually worth. And some will pay, others will not. But I think we lose the potential of what the culture could become if sneakers were become more accessible. So it's a very, very complicated thing. But I think when we look at where the culture needs to go, is really focusing on the experience. And I know the brands that are out there really trying to leverage what this looks like, whether it's an in-store experience, whether it's a digital experience, whether it's a mobile experience. The experience of the customer, or ultimately the sneakerhead, needs to change and needs to continue to evolve. I believe that there will be other brands that will eventually come into the marketplace that will be able to give a better experience. And the couple, KYX World and Rares, I'm not familiar truly with those brands, but they're really looking at different ways that they can leverage what the experience will look like. So that, I think, is where some of these pieces are going, and where the experience are going. Like, no one wants everyone wants the hottest and the latest and the most exclusive shoes. We know the ML Marine, Jordan 1, Jordan 3, the Jordan 2 that comes out, that might be the best shoe this year, but we'll save that for another pod. But those are very limited quantities and very high demand. Now, you can't make everything of, mass appeal. Otherwise, then the ability to have sneakers, and there's always going to be a have and a have not, but it's ultimately going to lead to everyone having the same sneaker, and that's no fun. So I think we have to look at what the experiences can look like, and how do we ultimately bring sneakerheads together. I think some of the buy and sell, and some of the different pieces that have been out there, like SneakerCon, and doing activations with brands, those are some of the key pieces with brands and other people within sneaker culture that we can bring people together. And hopefully the blip that we've had over the last little while is truly based on what we've seen because of the pandemic. But hey, Ontario's dropped masks now, or at least made them optional. Hopefully, COVID will sooner rather than later be a thing of the past, and we can get back to spending time with one another in person and building those connections. And if brands can tag on to that and create some unique and creative customer experiences, this will only lead to a different segment of the culture that probably has been lost, and hopefully that can come back into the sneaker world, because there's definitely a level of frustration, and to a certain extent the system is not working the way that it should. Now, I know there's definitely some that are adapting and some that are finding ways to connect and find ways to get what they want, but there is a price, but there's also a way that this can work for many people versus very few. So there's hope out there that, ultimately the evolution of sneaker culture can be truly based on the experience, and we really can find ways for our customers that are essentially us, the sneakerhead, can find ways to connect on a whole new way, or at least a way that we used to. I remember I used to go out and shop, and I go to like 6 or 7 sneaker stores in one outing. Doesn't happen anymore. It's not the same. Like, some of the shops are unfortunately no longer exist. There's so much access to stuff online. When I was doing this back in 06, 07, you couldn't, there wasn't a non-online presence to go out and try to do this. So I know I have had to adapt, and I know other sneakerheads have had to adapt, but I think there's a way that we have to look at how does the community of sneakerheads come together in person and really leverage what the opportunities are of building connection. I think that is the root of everything, is how do we build a better connection to what is happening in the sneaker world. I think there's a part for everything. And do I say that reselling needs to disappear? Absolutely not. That's if you didn't know, or you were not willing to accept, that's part of the game now. But how do we find ways for everyone to kind of coexist and move forward? I know there's going to have to be some changes with the brands. There's also going to have to be changes on technology and how we do some other things. But the root of everything is, how do we evolve and innovate on what the culture can become, but really bringing sneakerheads together. I think if we can do that, like I'm trying to do on this podcast and many others that are running their own podcast, I think this will be good for all, and we all would be in a better place. So thanks for listening again. It's Lionel, representing Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. Love your feedback. So hit the subscribe button. Definitely put it in the comment section, or hit me up on Instagram. But always willing to connect. And yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents in sharing that great article from The Entrepreneur. You should check it out yourself. I definitely will post it on some of my platforms. So on that note, we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.